Welcome back to Demo Day. We're here with Paul Wood, Vice President of Engineering with Ping, and going to talk about a few of the products and some really nice launches coming up. Ping have always been engineering based, so it's not a marketing format. Everything is done for a reason, and I think the 10K that you got here, really fascinating to know how you managed to get all the attributes that it has.
Yeah,
Just to throw loads of questions at you.
Exactly. Well, we're like you said, we're an engineering company, so this is what we do. And John Solheim, our former CEO, said we're kind of in the business of moving weight around, which is a lot of what engineering is, right? That was Carsten's first putter, was moving weight to the heel and toe to increase forgiveness. That's the same principle right here. We're moving mass around. The more we can spread the mass, the more forgiving it is. But like you said, you've got all these other things that we're trying to maintain. You know, the look and the sound, the center of mass, which is very important for launch and spin. You know, the shape of the face, like being right up to the limit on characteristic times or ball speed, aerodynamics, you know, all these things. So the quick answer is this is what we do every day, right? This is what our engineers, it's not magic that they suddenly figured it out this year. They've been doing it last year with the G430 and before that with the 425 and the 410. So it's a bit of a natural evolution. Specifically on this, what we've been able to do by concentrating all the weight in the mass pad that doesn't move, we've been able to increase forgiveness a little and going to the carbon fly wrap on the crown again. And there's some engineering that has to happen behind the scenes to make that work and to actually realize mass savings. Those are the two big things that gave us that little extra bit to get to 10K moment of inertia.
What is it with the weight saving you just mentioned there? What is it that, is there an amount of weight saving that you can get that makes a difference? So is there a kind of a critical point where you go, okay, we've saved enough that we can make it work, or is that?
Yeah, there is. And to an extent,
it's
every little helps. Yeah. Or we talk a lot in Ping engineering world about marginal gains or incremental gains, which, you know, the British cycling were the big exponents of that, right? And the same applies here. So a gram here, a gram there, a gram here, suddenly 3 or 4 grams, and that's a meaningful amount, and that does make a difference, and you can notice that. But it is often like the driver, it's like 3 or 4 little things that add up to one big thing.
And so with this product in particular, was there a particular kind of big win with this one, that not necessarily a eureka moment, but there was which do you feel is the most important aspect of this club from a design point of view?
I would say with this one, honestly, going to the carbon fiber crown and really maxing out, and part of what the max driver is, we're maxing out the footprint. You know, not everyone likes to look at a bigger size, but it really helps in terms of giving you that spread of mass and moment of inertia. So going to the carbon fiber crown and maximizing the size of the footprint with the biggest one.
Well, I think part of the sizing and scaling of it visually is having that color differentiation breaks it up, and so that, you know, so all these little the lines within the frame just shrinks it down visually a little bit.
That industrial design is there to try to guide it from looking like a huge big thing into like a little more sleek, and that's the art of industrial design, is to make it look a little smaller. And
so how far around, because the carbon fly wrap, if I've used the right terminology there, came in on the LST 430 previously. Does this go further around until was it really kind of utilizing that technology and putting it within the max frame?
Yeah, I mean, you can see how far around it goes. It's pretty similar to the LST, but it's a bigger chassis, so there's just more of it. And that was the biggest thing we did with that.
Got it.
But keeping the mass low is also important, because the things we do to increase forgiveness also can tend to increase spin, and you don't necessarily want more spin on your driver. And I think that's one thing we're very proud of here, is it's a low spin profile, not as low as the LST, but a pretty low spin and stable. Those are things that are hard to get together.
And that's the bit doing the testing we've done with it in the studio that surprised me. I knew, because that was what we kind of said, right, it's low spin and forgiving, but actually is how stable the spin rate is taken in comparison to the max and the LST. It really sits just below the max. It's really quite, it's something that we know to be hard to do, but it's really quite impressive, because that's always been the bit you think, okay, you gain forgiveness, but if you've got a higher speed player, then the spin kicks and then you lose a bit of distance.
Exactly.
But this really seems to be the whole package this year.
Yeah, and then so you get someone like Cameron Champ, who's a really high swing speed player. Keeping the spin down a little is very important for him. He gravitated straight to this, and so it's good for someone who's really fast and a really good player. It's also really good for someone who's a high handicapper who maybe uses the whole face. And then that forgiveness really kicks in there, even if you don't have a ton of speed.
So great on the 10K Max, and we'll grab a couple of other products. So move into the forged irons, the Blueprint series, which, so going back a few years, there was the original blade that was launched, and now the S and the T being the blade and the S being the forged cavity. This has really taken off on tour as a product. The S in particular seems to have really caught fire, and lots of players switching across to it.
Yeah. No, the S is like the sweet spot of size that most tour players gravitate to. Even on tour, the Blueprint T is pretty small. And it's about 25-30% of our players will have something this size in their bag, and then I230 at the other end is sort of a larger tour iron, but it's in a lot of bags on tour too. So I think you would view them as a 3, I230, Blueprint S, Blueprint T. It's a fun project working with some of the best players in the world, and how fine their eye is, all the little tiny things that really matter to them. It's engineering and human factors at the same time.
Because these have both got the little bit of tungsten weighting in the heel and the toe, hence the screw on the toe there. And the S has got a cavity kind of forged into it.
It has a cavity forged in on the long irons, and that's really helping just spread the mass. Gives it, even in a tour player iron, you want a little bit of forgiveness baked in, because even tour players mishit it slightly, and they're doing it at much higher speed than most of the rest of it. So forgiveness is still important, but just in a much smaller package. So that's where that precision pocket forging, which was kind of a fun project to work on. How do you forge a cavity? That used to be a huge trade-off. When Carsten started Ping, he forged irons and then he machined cavities. Now we figured out how to do it 65 years later. We figured out how to do it in a forging, which is really fun.
And if I'm right, wasn't it a way of actually kind of moving the top of the club head out of the way to create, so was that?
Yeah, so if people don't have a good mental image of what forging is, you're basically heating up the metal and pressing it. And so it's very difficult to do complicated geometry. So what we would do is we'd actually bend the top of the face back, then come in and forge the cavity, and then bend it back into place. So, like I said, really fun project, a good engineering challenge. But what it means to the golfer is a more forgiving long iron.
Yeah, and how much? I mean, is there any mass within that? Or is it literally just the cavity and the mass is in the heel and the toe?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, we use the custom tuning port to help spread the mass a little, but also to dial in swing weight. So when we're building, everything's built to like 1 gram increments and the most precision we possibly can. And
that's one of the things for us from a fitting and building point of view is so versatile, is having those ports to be able to fine tune them down. I mean, it's such a great, I suppose. Otherwise, you're looking to put something down the shaft or in the bottom there, or glue something in. It's so versatile.
Exactly. Back in the old days, we used to sort heads, that kind of stuff. But it's great. We can get within, like I said, within less than a gram accuracy on every iron in the set. So if you've ordered a set of D2 swing weight, they're all D2 swing weight.
And the face on these, there's a slightly different, if I remember rightly, there's a slightly different groove pattern to the 230.
Yeah, we've got we have 2 different grooves that we use on some of our irons. We have the Micro Max that we used on 230. These are more like our traditional tour grooves. It's been, again, an interesting project working with players on when are they using them, what are they seeing on the fairway, in the rough. The Micro Max really comes into its own when you get debris between club and ball. So if you're playing out of the rough, which is frankly most of my iron shots, it makes a huge difference. Actually, if you're hitting more out of the fairway, this kind of tour groove optimizes things slightly better. So we're always balancing, like how often tour players tend to be hitting like 70% of their shots out of the fairway. I might be more like 30% out of the fairway, and so it makes a difference there. So we've gone to really optimizing the fairway condition on these irons. That's what our players wanted the most.
And so because you'd assume the Micro Max are kind of they're not narrow, but they're more grooves on the face.
More grooves on the face.
To get rid of more debris from the contact. So you'd think, would that not be better everywhere, or does it to create too much grip?
You can actually get to it. It's a very long, very boring discussion for super geeks, but it is possible to have too much friction where you end up reducing spin slightly in perfect conditions. That never really happens in less than perfect conditions. When in the rough, then you want as much grip as you can. But actually on the fairway, it is possible to get too much friction sometimes. So that's the explanation.
That's the thing. It's always good things can always be too much.
They always be too much.
So those are the irons, and then we'll grab on the wedges and go through that as well.
All right.
So the S159 wedges, so these literally just about launching back in the Feb back home. Slightly different, Hydro Pearl finish 2.0. That's something that Ping's been doing, which has been fabulous with the wedges. That spin retention with the wedges.
Yeah, I'd say we've been known for the engineering in our wedges. They perform amazing. The Hydro Pearl finish, like you said, what gives you spin in a wedge is a great coating, great grooves, great face blasting, great face milling. They all work together. All the different things we can do on a face work together to give you spin across all the different conditions. And we've had that kind of figured out for quite a while. What we've probably lacked is a little more of like the tour connection and really having all the options that the better players want, having more grinds, having more finishes. So
say 2 new grinds this year.
Yeah, so we've got 2 new grinds. This one right here is the H grind. That's our half moon. Been really popular on tour. Gives you more bounce when you're kind of hitting it with a square lead edge. But if you want to open it up, it gives you more versatility with the heel relief and toe relief. And then the B grind, again, is a popular one, particularly in like firmer conditions. If I was playing in St Andrews, I think it'd be a great option where you've got bounce width, you've got a little bit of forgiveness through the turf, but not a lot of height. So it sits nice and low, easy to slide the ball under club on tight conditions.
And that's certainly one where I think there's that, bounce is always something that golfers want to understand, but there are different aspects to it. You say it's not just the angle, it's the width and the shaping of it, and there's been someone's angle of attack.
Exactly. So part of what we've done to help try to demystify that is we have the WebFit Wedge app. It's just 60 seconds. We ask a couple of little questions, and we give you a little bit of an understanding of, hey, you might be a good candidate for the H grind, and here's why. And we'd always encourage people to go hit them. That hopefully the WebFit's not the beginning and end of it, but at least give someone a bit of an education on why might this grind work for me with my technique.
And actually, for us, what's supposed to be great with the H in particular is not having to kind of go up and bounce, grind a bit down, there's a monkey around with the wedge. Actually, that one in particular, actually both of the additions for, I think, UK are really good because of the variety of bounces we need. We're not just playing off, in the parts of the US, you're playing off kind of the same kind of softer turf, softer stand. You need bounce or higher bounce, and all of those, that bit of relief on the back edge and the D being the D?
The B.
B.
The B and the H.
The B being the lower wide. That one really, I think it's going to be a really popular one back in the UK.
I think you're right. I think, and there's such a difference playing in links golf versus inland, maybe wetter, that maybe you get one of each, and you have your St Andrews wedge and you have your Belfry wedge.
And the different finishes this year. Now the black doesn't have the Hydro Pearl.
It's not Hydro Pearl. It's actually called a QPQ, quench, polish, quench. We call it the Midnight. We've worked really hard. Although it doesn't have the Hydro Pearl, it has all the same machining, milling, blasting, and the spin is almost every bit that the chrome is. And so you're really not having to make a big trade-off. But a lot of players just really like the black finish. It's great in the sun. I know we don't get a lot of sun in England, but those few days you do, anti-glare finish. But it's just a really nice option. It's available in all the wedges, so we wanted to give people that choice.
And what is it that makes the Hydro Pearl not doable in the Midnight finish?
It is, the Hydro Pearl is a chrome plating, and this is a QPQ. Like, you can get a black chrome, but it doesn't look quite the part. It's not quite the same. So, but we've done all our testing, and in most conditions, we're within a few hundred RPM of the chrome. So I think for most golfers, you're not going to see a huge trade-off. It still has amazing spin, and it gives you, like I said, that versatility to, if the black's for you, you can go with trust.
And one of the things that Ping have always done with their wedges is that bar in the back, which is also a weight cartridge as well, and that's something that Ping are now basically unique at doing, in that where other brands used to do a lighter head. I used to be tall at 6 foot. With that, and I'm not anymore. And the amount of wedges that we need to build longer and lighter to have the versatility of the weighting on the heads. That's now unique to Ping.
So we do our best to hide it because you don't particularly want to look at it. But that little piece in there, is an elastomer, so it's like helps contribute to that soft feel. But the biggest reason is it gives us swing weight flexibility, so we can build. Every set's custom built, and we can go down to like 1 gram accuracy.
And that's, I say, for us is a massive thing, because we're seeing more and more taller golfers, and the technique now is not kind of pulling on the handle as much. So being able to control that weighting's huge. And internally within that, is there, like with the irons, is there that element of heel-toe weighting as well, built into the sort of any kind of tungsten weighting, heel and toe?
No. This one's it's uniform. We got the nice thing with the wedge, you've got a lot of mass in the head, so we can kind of build in the forgiveness in the head itself. We're actually taking a little bit of mass out because we're using lighter materials in here, but keeping it uniform. We don't want to introduce anything that might hamper the feel or anything like that. Like it does everything we need. It gives us the precision in precision golf.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you add the materials in, you're changing the acoustics and the feel and the vibration that's going through the head, so hence leaving the tungsten out.
Yeah, and it's really important, you know, with these field clubs that like your feel, the sound, the feel of it going through the turf, that's your feedback loop for the next shot. So we want to enhance that. We pay a lot of attention and just try to blend the hard engineering with the human factors.
Paul, been fascinating talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure. Another
you.
Brit over here in the US. And we look forward to getting everyone in, testing these out. They're going to be a great wedge this year.